and welcome to the Giraffe Social Media Podcast. It's what social media managers are talking about. I'm Nicole Watson, and today I'm joined by some brilliant members of the Giraffe team. We've got Senior Social Media Manager Dom.
Hello.
Social Media Manager Laura.
Hi.
And Social Media Manager Jordan.
Hello.
So in today's recap episode, we are going to be discussing everything you need to know about social media competitions. Do they work? When should you use them? And even some of our best tips for running a successful competition on social media. But before we get started on all that, I've got a question for you two. Have you ever won a competition, social media or not? And is there any way we can compete for the biggest prize won? Anyone?
So I won. It was basically just a box full of makeup. It was really, really nice makeup brands and everything. But yeah, it was exciting. That's the only thing I've ever won.
And what platform was that competition on?
That was Instagram. So my friend, I think you just had to comment on your favourite product from NARS or something like that. And my friend commented and tagged me, and I done the same, and I ended up winning. It was great.
Nice. I'm so jealous. Was it like really like high-end makeup?
Yeah,
it was
it was really good.
Stuff.
Yeah, and the girl who it was, she obviously looked at everyone that won and sort of took into account your skin tone and things like that. So it was great.
Wow.
It wasn't just random makeup.
Oh,
That's
so
really
jealous.
Cool. I know.
That is
really
goals.
Good. That is.
That is goals. Like,
Yeah. Oh my God. Has anyone else ever won anything?
I have no. I mean, I'm not like an avid competition enterer. I don't know if that's the right phrase. But no, I don't think I've ever won a social media competition or a competition in general, thinking about it. Nothing. Maybe my time is yet to come. Who knows?
Maybe. Something big is coming. Yeah.
Something big is coming.
Yeah. Dom, what about you?
I'm exactly the same as you, Laura. I haven't been in it to win it, so I've never won anything. I keep saying, like, probably once a month I'm going to do a lottery, but I never actually bother doing it. But in terms of social, yeah, like, I see so many competitions, and I don't know why. I just don't bother, because I feel like you see how many people enter, and sometimes that puts you off it, and you're like, you know what, the odds of me winning this are very slim, even though the entry requirements aren't that big most of the time. Sometimes I just can't be bothered. So maybe I need to stop being lazy and actually enter, because otherwise you're never going to win.
Yeah, exactly. You never know. And we'll definitely have a little discussion in a bit on what we all think about social media competitions. But as you said, you got to be in it to win it. So maybe it's your takeaway from today's episode. Listeners of the podcast will know, I love entering social media competitions. I have like a regular list of friends who I'm always tagging in competitions, and I'm hoping one day I'll win really big. I think the best one was like this fitness brand, and I think I got like a fancy watch that like tracks your heartbeat and stuff. Wasn't quite an Apple Watch, but it was still quite cool. But I'm a big fan, basically, of competitions, which we will discuss today. So yeah, I mean, we might as well get straight into it. As we all know, competitions and giveaways online are a really great way to increase your brand's awareness and engagement. Usually it involves asking users to follow your page, like your post, tag a friend. There are lots of different variations, but as social media managers, we all know the benefits of competitions, but there are some other things to consider that I think is really important that we go over today. But because of how popular these competitions are and how engaging they have become on social media, a lot of brands are using the key dates of the calendar online to run competitions. I'm sure a lot of you have seen the Valentine's Day competitions, last month. I think there are a lot of those going out. Mother's Day is obviously coming up this weekend, and I've seen a lot of brands create some nice little like little packages and Mother's Day sort of collections, which is really sweet. But first of all, I really just want to hear what you guys think about competitions. Like, Dom, you said there you don't really enter them. Is there any reason for that? You said just because you can't, you're not really interested or bothered in entering, but is there any other reason why you don't really like entering those competitions?
Yeah, I mean, a good point. I can't really say that I've thought too much into it as to why I don't enter it, but I don't know. I guess it's because it's not like I've never done it before. I have done it in the past. I haven't done it recently, but I think probably because if you do it so often, to the fact that you don't actually win, maybe it sort of, you lose interest in doing it, and you just feel like, oh, you know what, why bother? Yeah, I mean, a lot of the times I'll get my friends tagging me in competitions, and obviously they're just using me to enter, but they never win. Yeah, like don't get me wrong, like in terms of like for a brand using competitions, there's so many benefits to do it. Like one, it's a great way to engage with your audience, and to find your audience as well. You're going to be, depending on what the entry requirements are, you could be reaching new audiences, build brand awareness, help to grow your social following as well. If one of your objectives from that campaign is to grow followers, competitions is a great way to do that, especially organically if you're not, running ads on that. Utilizing influencers as well for that campaign. So although I don't enter, as a brand, there's so many benefits to running a competition.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's good to acknowledge how beneficial they are, but as users as well, there's also like other things to consider. Like there are a lot of accounts now made purposely for entering competitions, I've seen. So it's just something to be aware of, that when you are running a competition, making sure that it is specific to the brand. Like, you don't just have something that's like and tag a friend. Like, maybe make it a little bit more specific to the brand and the products that you're selling. Might be a nice way to only encourage the people who are genuinely interested in following and learning more about the brand and actually receiving the product, and kind of avoiding the people who are just sort of spamming different competition entries. Laura, what about you?
Yeah, so as I said, I do enter competitions occasionally. I'm not an avid competition enterer. I'm sort of the same as Dom in the sense that I'm like, oh, my chances of winning are so small, so why bother? But then at the same time, it's like, if I don't enter, I've got no chance. So I think the thing for me, like one of the most important things, like, that I consider when entering a competition is, one, like, how much do I really want this? Like, how much do I want to win? Obviously, it has to be something that I'm interested in. So, for example, like makeup, beauty, all of that would probably entice me. But there's obviously going to be other brands that I'm probably not as interested in. And the other thing is also the entry requirements. This is a really big bugbear of mine, because from a user perspective, like, really complicated entry requirements just totally put me off. When it's like, tag 6 million friends, follow our page, share this to your story, share it to your Facebook story for an extra entry, and comment this and I'm like, no. But then from a brand perspective, and doing it from a brand's perspective, like, those kind of things can be really important, because, like you said, Nicole, you sort of filter out the people that are going to not do it because maybe they're not as interested, and then it's not going to be as spammy. But it's definitely something for brands to consider, I guess, like exactly what they want from the competition and hone in on that. So if they want followers from it, comment and follow this page is adequate enough.
Just to throw in a question, are you more likely to enter a competition from like a big well-known brand, or from like an independent very low following sort of brand, which are you more likely to follow, Nicole?
I think I convince myself that my chances are better with the smaller brands, and they probably are because maybe they have less entries. But when you see the huge giveaways, like there's so much buzz around them. Like, do you remember the Molly May giveaway that she did and how huge that got? That was just like insane. And I think even the people who don't enter competitions decided to enter the Molly May competition because it just got so big and everyone sort of wanted to get involved. What about everyone else?
I just, going back to Molly May competition, I saw recently that competition is undergoing investigation because obviously not sure what's true, what's not true, but apparently the competition winner wasn't selected fairly. So I think what Molly May had stated was that her team, her social management team, pulled out 20 people from the comments, and then it was entered into a generator. So basically not everyone who entered was actually considered, if that makes sense. So, and Molly May said that was the easiest way we did it. Obviously they got hundreds and thousands of entries, that was the best way, but the flip side of that is obviously there are tools to filter things out. So again, another really important takeaway, I think, as well, is that when brands particularly run competitions, make sure that the entrants are selected fairly.
Absolutely.
So,
I definitely think that's a really important thing to talk about today, and we'll go into that in a little bit more detail. But going back to your point, Dom, would you be more likely to enter a competition from a bigger brand or a smaller brand?
If it was in terms of smaller brand, if it was like a brand that I was following, definitely. If it was a small brand that I wasn't really aware about, probably not. In terms of big brands, I think that goes back to my point of my odds on winning are very slim, so I probably wouldn't enter. So I think if it was, I would probably more likely enter a competition from a small brand that I'm aware of than a big brand, just because one is because you're sort of helping that brand as well, where they are quite small and independent. You're helping that brand. Plus, if you like that, then more incentive to go and enter it. So.
Yeah, definitely. Jordan, what about you? Do you enter competitions regularly? Do you like them? Do they annoy you? What do you think?
I think I like to play it cool and say I don't enter, but I actually do. I think I do quite a lot. Yeah, I don't know if I'd sort of stick to smaller brands. I'd say from the ones I've entered, I think I'd go big or go home. Yeah. I mean, I've only won that one once, and I think that was literally just luck, because all the others, I tag all my friends, my boyfriend, and everyone, and no. So, I do think I enter quite a few, but sometimes I do think if I don't win, and if I enter quite a few and don't win, I sometimes think, is this real? Is this even? Do they even select a winner?
Yeah.
But there's always that. But maybe I'm just bitter. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there are so many competitions now. It's not, oh my God, ASOS are doing a giveaway for the first time in a year. There are competitions every other week, it seems, with especially the fashion brands. It's kind of their thing now. Not just on Instagram either, on Twitter, there's a lot of competitions with hashtags to use in order to enter. So there are a lot of different sort of ways to have these competitions, but I think Instagram in particular is obviously huge. And if I were to go on my feed now, I'm sure I would see quite a few different competitions pop up. I personally love it when brands collaborate with other brands for competitions, so you're getting more than just the brand that you're entering. I think it's always clever as well when they collaborate with a brand who sort of fits in nicely with their target audience and also complements the product. So I like those sort of competitions as well. And then just from the the brand side, obviously you can then gain their audience if it's a competition running on both channels. So those are really, really good, especially for influencers as well. If a brand is using an influencer to run a competition, that's always really beneficial. So I think it's evolved now from just a normal tag a friend like this post competition. Now you've kind of got to be a bit creative with the ones that you run, because there are people like Dom and Laura, for example, who think, well, I'm probably not going to win. Why should I bother? So if you have something that really entices people, it might help the competition succeed, which is sort of what we want at the end of the day.
One brand that really stands out to me for competitions, particularly on Twitter, as you mentioned, Nicole, is Opoly. They host a competition pretty much every single day, I think. And
Wow. Yeah, they do.
Whilst literally every day, every single day, whilst I still follow them, so it's my own fault. Like, whilst it's actually quite annoying on my Twitter feed, it's actually like, it's really good sometimes to see, because what they do is they repost a lot of the tweets from the people who've won, like, oh, I can't believe I won, like, you've made my day. And they can be, again, like, quite creative in their like competition entries, which I think again makes them stand out. Like, they might say, you know, comment below why you think you should win, so then you obviously then they get to read like people's stories of why they think they should win and that kind of thing. And I think ultimately, just based on what I see on Twitter, I think they have obviously grown their social following a lot from doing that, and I would imagine like have quite high engagement levels as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think the competitions on Twitter are like a whole nother level, because they get a bit crazy from what I've seen. Like, usually, I know I keep mentioning ASOS, but they usually have hashtags like ASOS give me this, or ASOS I want this, or something like that, and then people basically give really emotional responses a lot of the time about why they should win, why they deserve it. And I think Twitter's very different to Instagram in that sense, because on Twitter you're focusing more on the awareness, you know, the awareness of the hashtag and people using it. But on Instagram it's usually about follower numbers. So they're kind of different objectives, but you bring up a really good point there, Laura, about user-generated content as well. Like, if your competition is asking people to share images, to share other things that you can then use as a brand, that's also a really good objective to have and something to focus on. But you also mentioned, Laura, sort of the tools that brands can use for competitions. Do you have any you'd like to share with us?
Yes, so I have a few online tools that brands can use. We're starting off with WASC. WASC, I'm going with WASK.co. And this is just an online tool where you simply enter the link to your competition post, so on Instagram, and then you can put automatic comments to find a competition winner. We have commentpicker.com. This one you have to log in via your Facebook account. But again, like, once you do that, you can then choose the Instagram giveaway options that you want to filter in. So, for example, like duplicate entries, that kind of thing. So that's very handy as well, I think. We've got instabomb.com. Again, enter your post URL. You can also get the Instabomb app, whereby you select your giveaway post, set the rules of your competition, and it will gather the results for you, which I always think is so handy. And we also have an app, which is Comment Picker for Instagram. Again, an app that you would download. I think there's also a web browser version for this. Simply enter your giveaway post URL and it will select a winner from the comments. So all very handy tools, but it is worth considering that obviously many of the tools online generally select just from the comment section. So if you are running multiple entry requirements on the competition, then it is worth just like manually double checking the other requirements before announcing the winner. So for example, if you've got a competition where someone has to comment and follow the page. Might just be worth double checking they do actually follow the page before you announce them as a winner. But yeah, particularly very handy.
Yeah, definitely. They're really good sort of apps and websites there to keep on hand if you're ever running a competition. We've spoken a lot about Twitter and Instagram, but Facebook are a little bit different in their competition rules. Dom, I know you've been looking into this a little bit. Because don't they, you can't, there are certain things you can't do for competitions on Facebook, is that right?
Yeah, Facebook definitely are a lot stricter in terms of what they allow you to do for competitions. So some of those things are to ask somebody to share on Facebook is a no. So part of their policies is like personal timelines and friends connections must not be used to administer promotions. So that's a no. Other things like tag your friend to enter. You're not actually allowed to do that either. A quick look at their policies state that friends connections must not be used to administer promotions. So things like tag your friend in this post to enter are not permitted. But you are free to encourage people to tag their friends to know about the competition. Like one of the entry points can't be tagged to enter a friend, but you can tag a friend so that they're aware of the competition, so as long as it's not an entry point. And you can't also ask people to like your page to enter the competition. Yeah, Facebook don't allow that.
You do.
Some other things. Yeah, what? So some things
What
to be
can
aware
you
of.
actually do?
Yeah.
So things to be aware of really is, provide details on your contest rules. So make sure you're clear and it's very clear to what you want the audience member to do on how to enter. Obviously, no misinformation. Make it clear that Facebook is not your sponsor as well. Like when running a contest or promotion on Facebook, you need to acknowledge that it is not endorsed, sponsored, or administrated by Facebook, nor is it Facebook that is associated with the contest. No consideration allowed for participation. So essentially, basically what that means is having to exchange some sort of value for an entry. That's not allowed. It's important to realize a person's identity and information, stuff like that. You're not allowed to sort of gain that sort of information for a competition. Another one is don't force people to engage in actions to enter. So Facebook does not allow you to acquire actions on their platform in exchange for entries. So again, like I was saying, that's like shares, tags, certain things like that. If you're encouraging user-generated content, so you want people to share like a photo or a quote, you need to make sure that you have that permission to do so. And that's actually something that you need to include as like a small print within your competition. And then another thing is understand that Facebook will not assist you in your promotion. So it's one of their last rules. Say that any page running a promotion on Facebook does it at their own risk. They won't help in terms of promoting that. Obviously you can run ads, but as long as they're within the Facebook policy guidelines. But other than that, Facebook want to make it clear that the competition is nothing to do with them and you're liable for it. So yeah, so things that you could do alternatively, ask things like, ask trivia questions relating to your product or industry. You could do like a caption competition, like to get people to like best caption wins, and then people can tag their friends to enter as well. Anything like a guessing sort of competition, like post a video that requires your followers to watch all of it and then make an accurate guess of the correct answer, for example. Like how many footballers did you see in a video, or like how many sweets were in that jar? Something that's a bit more engaging, like that sort of sense. You're not then really asking people to tag and things like that. You're more asking them to engage with that post. So there's some things you can do, but as you can see, there's a lot of things that you can't do.
Yeah, definitely. I think those are some really good ideas there for other types of competitions you can run on Facebook, but I think it was a thing by Facebook to purposely try and avoid spammy type competitions. I think there's a reason why we've been talking a lot about Instagram and Twitter today, is because Facebook have a lot of other strict policies around it. But as Dom suggested there are still lots of other ways that you can run more engaging competitions, and I actually think they are better. Just to have some more quality engagement rather than spammy type comments. You could actually get some real sort of advocates for the brand coming in, which is great. In terms of like the obviously policies and things to follow, Jordan, I know you've been looking at some of the sort of terms and conditions for competitions. Are there any things that people really need to make sure they include?
I mean, the ones that I've previously done have always been pretty simple. I think that's why I've actually taken part in them. I mean, similar to Facebook, I sort of looked on Instagram and they sort of don't endorse any of the competitions and things like that. And they also said they're not responsible for anything that happens to the participants. I guess they're covering their own backs. But mainly I've just sort of seen 18 or over, maybe location, sort of if you're in the UK, they can take part. Maybe not if it's a spam account, things like that, really. But yeah, everything's just really kept simple. I guess it sort of depends on what the competitions, the prizes are for. I guess if it's like alcohol or money, it might be slightly different. Sort of more regulation, more terms and conditions and things like that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think it's just always important to remember as a brand that you're putting in the terms and conditions at the bottom of the caption, just so it's really clear for everyone when they're entering. I've seen a lot of competitions without terms and conditions, which is just not really good. So it's just something that, as social media managers, we're all aware of, and I think we probably pick up on it more on when we see other posts, but it's always just something just to add at the bottom of the caption, really, so we're all aware of the requirements. And as you said, Jordan, like as a brand, you also need to set end dates when this competition ends. You need to know when to send out the product, how you're going to contact the winner. There are lots of little things, and I think a lot of people can get really excited about competition and then forget about everything the brand also needs to do. So it's just making sure those little bits are taken care of and added to the bottom of the caption.
You sort of said that competitions, sort of maybe sticking to influencers, maybe they'll do it to gain followers, things like that. But an influencer I follow, she sort of said on one of her YouTube videos, she sort of said on Instagram she wants to stop doing big competitions. She used to do them quite frequently. And instead, she'll just keep an eye out for people that constantly engage on her posts, maybe comment on YouTube and Instagram, things like that. And she'll just maybe slide into your DMs, ask for your address, and just send over like a goodie bag, which I think is quite a nice idea.
Yeah,
I don't know what you guys thought about that.
I think that's a really nice idea. Yeah, because I think it's. I mean, from the influencer's perspective, they're probably thinking, it's a way also for them to understand like their followers and the people that engage with them most and what they're engaging with, so they can probably learn a lot about their own content and how to deliver on that and how to improve on that. But also from like a user perspective, like they're not having to do something specific to enter. They're doing what they like. I mean, it's not a competition, but they're doing what they always do naturally, but are also in a chance, should I say, to win, which I think is a really great idea.
I guess she does it a bit more frequently as well, sending out loads of different goodie bags and stuff. I thought it was quite a nice idea.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think it's really interesting to see how like creative different types of brands and influencers are being now with the competitions, whether it's like collaborating with another brand or doing other little things like that. I think there are lots of ways to make competitions more exciting on your feed and just to change it up a bit, especially if you're a brand who does competitions quite frequently, then you want to make sure that they feel different and they provide more value to your followers. But even if you're a brand who never does any competitions, you know, how can you make it stand out and get people to actually enter, and then also get them to stay on your feed and engaging? And I think that example there with the influencer, if she's always sort of randomly picking out people to send out goodie bags to, you're probably not going to unfollow or stop commenting, you know, just in case you might win. So that's a nice sort of alternative.
Yeah, for sure. I really love it when, particularly when brands collaborate on competitions or giveaways, both big brands and little brands. I know particularly recently I've seen quite a few like local businesses teaming up and hosting giveaways, which I think is a lovely idea, obviously, particularly for smaller local brands. If they can team up and then they've got even, you know, a bigger and better prize to offer, and they still get that engagement and that reach from the competitions. But again, as well, for bigger brands that collaborate together, it just gives them an opportunity to offer something better, and it means they've got both brand following to sort of introduce the competition to as well. But I think one sort of point that I think we should mention as well is with any competition that you're asking for people to follow, that you might after see some dropouts. So you get people that follow obviously purely for the competition. If they find they don't win the competition, they might unfollow. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced that before.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point, Laura. Like, we've talked about how good competitions can be, but there are also some things to consider, that if you are doing this really, really big competition and you're doing them quite frequently and then you stop, you may get mass unfollowing, which actually can look really bad for your account if you just suddenly get a wave of people unfollowing. So it's probably something to consider. And I think this is a problem quite a lot around Christmas time, when people do like 12 days of giveaways. They get lots of followers coming in, and then the second that's over, people decide to unfollow because they know the competitions are over. So you're completely right. It's definitely something to think about, and that's why you should make sure that your competitions are more tailored and they are actually going to get people who are interested in your brand and want to follow. You're not just sort of spamming and trying to get people to trying to build up the follower number as quickly as possible. Like, make sure you actually try and get them to stay. I think that's a great point.
Yeah, and I think with that then, like, if you are running competitions, to ensure that alongside your competitions, you do have a good social media strategy alongside that. So make sure that you are actively and consistently posting as well. Make sure those posts are engaging. You know, you're sure provide an incentive for people to want to engage with you. And that's always a great way to try and limit the amount of people that are potentially might unfollow you after a competition, especially if that was one of your objectives of it, to grow your following. So ensure that you are consistent with your social activity. Don't just do a competition post and then not post for a month, because you know, people are just going to naturally unfollow you in that state. So yeah.
Cool. Okay, well, I think that's all we've got time for today. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. You can also connect with us on all major social channels and let us know what you thought about today's episode. We've been Giraffe Social Media. You've been amazing. We'll see you next time.